Hello friends, I'm Manoj and in this session we are going to discuss paper 4, that is ethics, integrity and aptitude. In today's session we'll focus on section A, and we are not going to discuss question by question, thread by thread. Rather than we'll discuss about the approach. And the reason, very basic reason is if you look at this paper of this year main examination, my personal observation, it's applied paper, and as regularly I am saying, especially regarding this year, that this year students will realize very erratic marking pattern because of the social media noise. Why I am saying erratic marking pattern? In the sense, this paper demands a very deep thinking. Generally, students used to capture the keywords and write most of the answers in and around the keywords. This is not the paper which you will discuss through the keywords. Also, regarding this paper, you will find that lots of misconceptions are there. Many a time, students used to keep it pending for the last moment. I always say that ethics, essay and few of the sections are little bit slow. This paper is slow. Slow in the sense that it takes little bit time. It's not very heavy paper, you can say, which consumes you or your energy. But if you thinly spread in your preparation, you will develop a good command over this subject. So let's start, try to understand a little bit about this paper. Generally, the way students used to prepare, their focus is in and around the keywords, certain definitions, certain examples, etc. And you will appreciate this, what I'm saying, if you speak to your peer group, and you will find most of the candidates are doing the same thing. Same thing. If you spare some time to visit the previous year's paper of last 7-8 years paper, you will find that all the questions can be categorized easily in 4 broader categories. Right? You just do this only, nothing else, and then you will realize what I'm trying to say regarding this year's paper. Fine. The first category of questions are the question which is concept based. They pick certain keywords and then they create questions. Second category of questions are questions, those are open-ended, based on some abstract ideas. Questions may be abstract. Fine. Third category is solution seeking, and fourth is applied questions. If you look at the previous year's question paper and you put all the questions of the last 7-8 years, you will find that you can easily fit all the questions broadly here in this framework. So first set of questions are the questions which is directly designed on the basis of certain keywords or highly conceptual question. So it's not like that here there is no concept, but here they want to test one and only one thing, and that is your clarity of understanding related to certain fundamentals. That's nothing else. Here you will find most of the questions are from moral thinkers, human values, etc., where the question itself is very vague. Questions are very broad and you have to interpret what they want to ask. Solution seeking in the sense, then There are many questions. This year, though, the number of questions related to the solution seeking were less. But since 2017-18, they have introduced another type of question where they seek solutions, where you have to suggest certain measures, solutions to address the problem, etc. And then applied. Fine. Last 2-3 years, you will find the maximum focus is here. This year also, you will find that this part precisely, it is quite easy. Though every year they ask, you can say 4 to 5 questions. Sometimes they have gone to as high as 6 to 8 questions. 8 questions also. Open-ended, statement-based questions, moral thinkers, etc. This time, it is little bit, you can say, lower side. And also questions are not very difficult. This year questions are basically, you can say here, this side. So almost 90% questions are from these two broader categories. One by one, we'll understand what I'm trying to say. This will help you to develop approach. This paper is not about philosophy. This paper is more about ethics in action. This paper is more about ethics in practice. Where you use the various concepts, principles, ideas, etc. Fine? And that's why I have developed this kind of framework, so that it will help you to understand how to deal with which type of questions. Again, I am saying you, just spare some time, visit previous year's question papers, and you will find that all the questions can be categorized broadly in these four areas. If you do the framework, if you create the framework, it's very easy for you to develop a grip over the syllabus. Also, it will help you to organize a structure. Why I develop like this? Because I have to frame questions. In the test series also, in the class also. So always whenever we frame questions, we ask a question to ourselves, that why we want to frame that particular kind of question, what we want to test, etc. Fine. Question framing does not mean randomly you will frame, and it works. If you are organized, if you are structured, if you are able to link to the syllabus, it works. How it works? Everyone, those who were enrolled this year in the main examination courses, they know it that almost 60-70% questions are very close. Now I can say, because it's not about claim, but the questions are already on the social media platform, on book shops, etc. Students were already attempted, so they know it. And deliberately I have applied more, framed the question more and more applied side. Because if you look at the previous year's question paper, you will find that UPSC is doing everything except this. So obvious question is here that if UPSC has to explore the further possibilities or stretch the boundary to frame questions, obviously they will explore here. It's not about guessing. It's not about making any sort of prediction for the trend or not. No, not at all. It's basically you have to develop a habit where you are trying to stretch yourself, you can say the boundary of the syllabus, so that the possibilities are always high to remain close to the demand of the questions or expectation of the UPSC or a new pattern, new changes, etc. What kind of things they will ask, we don't know. But at least if there is a clarity, if there is a framework, if there is an understanding, if there are certain set of skills, then eventually you will find that whatever question they ask, you will feel comfortable. Fine. So this is why I created this framework. Fine. Within this framework, we'll try to understand how UPSC works. Fine. So 4 categories, broadly, very quick recap. Concept-based question, open-ended, solution-seeking, applied. Fine. Let's move to the first category questions. First category questions. So this year, as far as concept-based questions are concerned, there were 4 questions. When I am saying concept-based, again I am saying you, it does not mean here and here concepts are not involved. Here concepts simply means the questions are very direct, based on certain keywords, and a fair understanding and clarity in the thought process is enough to deal with it. So let's go to certain questions. So question number 5. Look at this question. So this question says, in the context of work environment, differentiate between caution and undue influence with a suitable example. It appears very simple, fine. But the question is here, why I have categorized it in the concept-based question? Because what you do, generally you go through the keywords, definitions, etc. But if you are not very conceptually very sound, then your answer is going to be superficial. Every competent candidate will attempt this question. Then the obvious question or the next question is, how you will take edge over the others? How you will take edge over the others? Because this is competitive examination. And in the competitive examination, one and only one thing matters, that whether you are able to take the edge, whether you are that side of the cutoff or this side of the cutoff, that's it, nothing else. Rest is gossip. So here, just try to link to the syllabus. Fine. So the question is here in the context of these two things. So you go to the attitude chapter. In attitude, you have behavior change, you have influence, you have persuasion, etc. This question is linked to that only, and the context is very specific, and that is working environment. Now, why I say that this question is conceptual and this question demands clarity and highest order of clarity? Because when you talk about this caution, it simply means that it is all about force, threat, intimidation. It is used in this case for behavioral changes. Fine. Or to you can say force someone to do in that particular way to work. But when we talk about you can say undue influence, it's more about manipulation. It's not persuasion, it's manipulation more. That's why it's written undue. Now, if you understand the difference between the influence, persuasion, etc., then it's very easy for you to write with great amount of clarity, write as direct as possible. Fine. Obviously, you will get more than 50-55% or even 60% of the marks. How you can say the concept works in your answer writing? Because here two things are very, very important. Number one, when you have to differentiate between the two, caution and undue influence, the first thing first is nature of influence. One is threat, intimidation, using the force. Another is manipulation. So difference number one. Number two, legality. In manipulation, legality may not be involved, but in threat, in intimidation, in you can say using the force, fine, there may be issue of legality also. Fine. So you understand very well the difference between the two, and then you can suitably write the examples also. Fine. This is what the question is, and this is what does mean by concept. Fine. So this question is again I am saying you related to the attitude, influence, behavior change, persuasion, etc., where a conceptual clarity is required that when behavior change happens because of the coercive method to use the force, intimidation, etc., then this is coercion. And then when behavior change happens or persuasion happens behavioral change happens because of the manipulation, it is undue influence. But this is what the basic demand of the question is. Number one. Let's move to the another question within the categories of the concept. What does mean by conceptual question? Question number read this question again. Read this question. So this question says, what really matters for success, character, happiness, and lifelong achievement in a definite set of emotional skills, your EQ, not just purely cognitive abilities that are measured by conventional IQ tests. Do you agree with this view? Give reason in support of your answer. Fine. Anyone can say that this question is all about emotional intelligence. Fine. How concepts works and why conceptual framework is needed, why in-depth understanding is needed. Let's understand this first, because if you don't understand, the chances are very high that you will mess up your attempt, nothing else. And that's why again and again I am saying one thing, that you will have to cut from the noise, otherwise you will mess your attempt. It's very simple, very, very simple. And this is what is happening. Yesterday only I was talking to a few candidates, and I said that more and more noise, it simply means, and if you are part of that noise, then the chances are very high that you are missing your prospect. So let's come to the point, why concept? Why concept is important? Because you will have to understand how the whole idea of EQ, emotional quotient, evolved. Why and when the whole idea of emotional intelligence started gaining the momentum, acceptance, etc. Fine. So you will find that in 1904 and thereafter, there were a few psychologists, experts, they started talking about the IQ, intelligence quotient. For example, Gardner, Spearman, and they came with a different theory, general theory, XYZ. Fine. But in 60s, 70s, more precisely in the 70s, there were many research papers published which started criticizing the limitations of the IQ. And this is how EQ came into the discussion. And in 80s, it gained the momentum. That IQ is good for the entry level, but to grow, you need EQ, in the sense emotional quotient, emotional intelligence. That helps you to become a good leader, because emotional intelligence simply means that you have interpersonal skill, to manage your emotions, to manage others' emotions also. Vis-a-vis, you have a social skill. So everything discussed within the ambit of the corporate first, experimented in the corporate first, fine, and then later it came in the domain of the governance. Why in the governance? Because if you read the classical bureaucracy or the Max Weber, the whole idea of the bureaucracy, it is often compared, bureaucracy often compared like machine, in the sense Max Weber says that bureaucracy simply means dehumanize. Machine की तरह वो काम करे means duty bound. They are rational, legal rational. Fine. But when we talk about good governance, when we talk about citizen-centric administration, etc., it simply means we are talking that there must be element of heartbeat in the bureaucracy. And this is why emotional intelligence. It gives heartbeat to the bureaucracy. It makes governance citizen-centric. It makes governance pro-public, etc. So this is what the basic concept idea is. Now the question is, if you don't understand the whole framework, whole idea of how EQ, and the whole idea of the EQ were evolved. What was the context? Why the first corporate? Then you can say the governance, why it happened. Then only you can write. Otherwise, what will happen? Mostly you will talk here the importance of emotional intelligence. Importance of emotional intelligence, and mostly you will discuss in and around writing self-awareness, self-management, XYZ. This is not the question is. Not at all. Read the question. It simply says, what really matters for success, character, a lifelong achievement is the emotional skill, EQ, purely cognitive abilities, etc. IQ test. So it's basically a comparative analysis. It's comparative analysis, IQ versus EQ. You cannot ignore completely. It's important. But then why this above this? This is what you have to discuss. And that's why I say that generally what happens, you will find very irritating market because you stop thinking. दूसरा ये कर रहा है, वो कर लो. कुछ keywords कहीं से मिल गया, मगअप कर लो. No, not at all. Not at all. Don't do this. Don't do this. Never. It will cost. It will cost very high, and it is happening. On day-to-day basis, we are able to see it. Wherever it's possible for me to intervene, we are intervening, suggesting to the students that more focus on thinking, visualizing, bring clarity, understanding through the thinking rather than rushing for the content. Content procurement will kill you, will kill your prospect. Then also, if you want to see this question, see this question. Again, very conceptual question, but it's a very easy question, I will say. Differentiate between moral intuition and moral reasoning. Both the side moral words is rated, it simply means that it talks about extended behavior, it talks about right and wrong. But when it says intuition, it simply means anything which automatically happens. Intuition means immediate, where you will find subconscious judgment happens very quickly. This is why it is moral intuition. Moral intuition. So you don't put conscious effort to judge anything. Rather, your own experience of the life, your gut feeling, etc., helps you to visualize, feel, sense about certain things without putting too much logic into it. Right? But another side is moral reasoning. So moral reasoning is basically involves a conscious, deliberate and rational process of evaluating any issues, dilemma, problem, etc. etc. Fine. So this is how you have to bring the clarity in understanding. This is how you have to bring clarity in explanation. This simply means that these questions are conceptual question in a sense that it wants to test one and only one thing, that how good you are in understanding certain things. If it is your thought process is clear, if it is very well organized, you won't play in and around the keywords, rather you will write answers with great amount of clarity, and always you will maintain high relevancy. Always you will maintain high relevancy. So this is you can say first category of questions. Fine. Then the another set of questions are open-ended. Another set of questions are open-ended. What does mean by this open-ended questions? Generally we will find open or abstract. So if you look at your syllabus, Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, and that is ethics and human interface, human values, fine. Moral thinkers, lessons from the life of leaders, civil servants, etc. These are the areas from there where they pick certain ideas to create questions. These questions are largely open-ended questions, abstract questions, statement-based questions, etc. So here in a statement-based questions, what is required is basically to understand the meaning of the statement, then go for explanation, then pick the context. Context simply means the setting in which you want to discuss. Means in bureaucracy, in social life, at individual level, whatever you think which is relevant or as per the demand of the question. Context. Then you have to go for examples to substantiate, and then you can easily close your answer by concluding your answer one sentence. This is how you need to deal with the open-ended question. Why I started with the meaning? Because open-ended questions or abstract-ended questions, abstract type of questions, the first task is basically to interpret. The first task before you to interpret the statement and interpret with, you can say, as close as possible. I'm not using the word right or wrong. My right or wrong word use nahi kar raha. I'm saying as close as possible, as relevant as possible. Right? So this is what the purpose is. If you are wrong here, you are gone. अगर यहाँ गलती हो गया तो गलती हो गया. This year they have asked very simple statement. They have given you a very simple statement. So this was not a problem at all here. Though if your interpretation is close, then the chances are very high that you will get good marks. Why I am saying this? Let's see the question. See this question. Fine. This question. Fine. So read this statement. Very simple. It says the simplest act of kindness are by far more powerful than 1,000 head bowing in prayer. Mahatma Gandhi. What does mean by it? The statement is very simple. Why clarity of understanding is needed here? Because this question is all about one and only one thing, and that is power of genuine compassion. Power of genuine compassion. So if you understand that this question is all about power of genuine compassion, your job is done. Then it's very easy to explain what is meant by genuine compassion. There are several contexts in which you can explain. बहुत सारे एग्जाम्पल आपको मिल जाएंगे, लेकिन जरूरत इस बात की है कि इंटरप्रिटेशन बहुत ही क्लोज हो, जिसे हमने किया. अगर वो वेग होगा, ओपन एंडेड होगा, अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड होगा, then it's, even if the question is very easy, it's little bit difficult to get marks. This is how you need to think. This is how you need to approach. For example, another question I am giving you. See, this here another question. Another question. A statement based question. So it says, do not hate anybody, because that hatred that comes out from you must in long term come back to you. If you love, that love will come back to you, completing the circle. Swami Vivekananda. It's very easy. Emotion question, fine. But here, the question is very straightforward, very straightforward, very simple. and the interpretation is also very simple. But interpretation should be as direct as possible. As direct as possible. For example, this question or the interpretation of this question demands that this statement moves around three things. The first thing first is power of emotion. Power of emotion. Second thing that it talks about laws of karma. Fine. It says it will come back to you. Laws of karma. And third, it talks about self-reflection. So these are the 3 points around which you have to write. Alright. And that's why I am saying that open-ended question demands the first thing first, that your understanding interpretation should be right. If there you have committed mistake or gone wrong, you are gone wrong. For example, again read the question. But this question can be answered in around these 3 points. Power of emotion, laws of karma, and then self-reflection. These are the 3 points which is the crux of this teaching. And in and around those 3 points you have to explain, you have to analyze, you have to do everything whatever you want to do. Fine. So this category of question, I call it open-ended, abstract. Though the question is simple, previous questions were tough. Sometimes it was very, very tough, very, very tough. What kind of questions they are going to ask next year, we don't know. But then you must hone your skill sets, that whatever question they ask, you are comfortable to remain relevant. I repeat, you are comfortable to remain relevant as possible. Then go to the you can say the next type of questions. Fine. Next category of question, I call it applied questions. This year you will find that number of applied questions are more. Somehow they have started asking questions, applied questions from 2018-19 itself. But now they are more around applied questions, solution seeking questions, rather than the keywords. Keyword based questions, very simple questions, they ask till 16 or 17. 16-17 के बाद से उन्होंने पूछना बहुत कम कर दिया, और ये भी कह सकते हैं कि प्रॉपरली that those things they have already exhausted. काफी क्वेश्चंस पूछे. So what is meant by applied ethics? Applied ethics simply means, if you look at your syllabus, there are 7-8 units, right from ethics and human interface to human values to emotional intelligence to ethics in administration, etc. Once you go through everything, then you have to apply in the different context, domain, etc. Fine. Different sector. It may be environment, it may be corporate, it may be international relation, it may be sports, it may be medical ethics, it may be other profession, it may be AI. Fine. So when you apply these principles, ideas, concepts in the different sector, domain, etc., then it becomes applied ethics. And this type of questions this time is more. And that's why I say that this paper is more about ethics in action, ethics in practice, rather than simply talking about the ethics in the philosophy. No. You have to see the application side of everything that you read. If you don't understand, then whatever practice you do, it will not yield result. मैं इसलिए कह रहा हूं क्योंकि जब तक तुमको वो क्लैरिटी, पर्पस, अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं है, तुम डेली आंसर लिखो, कुछ भी करो, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Because in answer writing, what you do, you capture your thought process. अगर थॉट प्रोसेस में क्लैरिटी नहीं है, अंडरस्टैंडिंग में क्लैरिटी नहीं है, तो तुम डेली आंसर लिख के भी या टेस्ट सीरीज करके भी या XYZ करके भी क्या करोगे? और थॉट प्रोसेस का मतलब सिर्फ कंटेंट प्रोक्योरमेंट नहीं है, इट्स नॉट अबाउट कंटेंट प्रोक्योरमेंट जहां पे हम सिर्फ और सिर्फ यूट्यूब से या XYZ से या कहीं से भी सिर्फ कंटेंट प्रोक्योर कर रहे हैं. कंटेंट इज ऑलरेडी देयर, एनफ कंटेंट, उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता. लेकिन अगर क्लैरिटी ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं है तो गलती तो वही होगी तुमसे. और ये सिर्फ इस पेपर की नहीं है, सारे पेपर की है, सारे पेपर में. इसलिए लास्ट ईयर आपने देखा भी होगा मार्क्स कितना इरेटिक मार्क्स था. इस तरह के मार्क्स इतने इरेटिक, इतने हाई एंड लो हर साल नहीं होते हैं. रिसेंटली यू विल फाइंड, एंड दिस ईयर इट इज गोइंग टू बी मोर. और मैंने तो कई डिस्कशंस में कहा है, इस बार ये पहला ओकेजन था जब मेरे पास इतने सारे कॉपी दूसरे इंस्टीट्यूट के स्टूडेंट्स ने भेजा कि सर एक बार देख लीजिए, एक बार देख लीजिए, बिकॉज दे वर अंडर प्रेशर, बहुत ज्यादा प्रेशर में थे. एंड आई डोंट कैरी दैट ईगो टू इग्नोर. नहीं, ठीक है, जहां तक हेल्प कर सकते हैं कर लेंगे. दैट्स आवर टास्क, दैट्स इट. सो कम बैक टू द पॉइंट. This question is very simple. It says, what do you understand by moral integrity and professional efficiency in the context of corporate governance in India? Illustrate with the suitable example. Suppose if here ये नहीं है, ठीक है, and सिर्फ लिखा हुआ है corporate governance. Why you need to understand that what does mean by corporate governance? Why corporate governance is important? What does mean by conscious capitalism? अगर ये अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं है तो आप एक क्वालिटी आंसर नहीं लिख सकते. यू कैन नॉट ड्राइव योर आंसर. यू विल राइट इन एंड अराउंड आइदर द मॉरल इंटीग्रिटी और एनीथिंग इन अराउंड द CSR, द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ द CSR, व्हाई CSR इज इंपॉर्टेंट, XYZ. ब्रदर, it's this question is not about this. Read this question. Illustrate with the suitable example. Here, why factor is more important. It's not about what is CSR, XYZ. It's not about. What do you understand by moral integrity and professional efficiency in the context of the corporate governance? What do you understand by this? So in explanation, you have to bring the why factor. So if you look at the world economy, it's approximately 80 trillion. America 18, China 12, India 2.5 to 3, etc. But if you look at the whole world economy from the corporate size, corporation size, market size, then approximately 150 MNCs controls more than 50% of the world economy. So who are the major stakeholder? Corporations, big corporates, MNCs. And that's why you will find that no government in the world can afford market to fail. No government. चाहे यहाँ बैंकिंग का इश्यू हो, चाहे लेमन ब्रदर्स हो, चाहे बराक ओबामा हो, चाहे प्राइम मिनिस्टर हो, चाहे कोई भी हो, मार्केट हिलती है एंड एवरीवन रश टू मेक इट स्टेबल बिकॉज नो गवर्नमेंट इन द वर्ल्ड कैन अफोर्ड मार्केट टू फेल. कंट्री कोलैप्स कर जाएगी साहब. दैट्स व्हाई गवर्नेंस, कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस, एंड देन इट हैज टू बी दिस. अगर ये नहीं होगा कोलैप्स कर जाएगी, मार्केट कोलैप्स कर जाएगा. फाइन. एक रिपोर्ट आती है और अदानी हो चाहे XYZ हो, शेयर ऊपर नीचे होने लगता है ना. और ऐसे बहुत सारे इश्यूज हैं. कुछ मैनिपुलेटेड हैं, कुछ एजेंडा बेस्ड है, कुछ जेन्युइन है. फाइन. और when we say moral, you can say integrity, it simply means adherence to ethical principle. That's it, nothing else. Adherence to ethical principle. But here you don't have to write much more than this. एक सेंटेंस में तो मीनिंग खत्म हो गई 10 वर्ड्स में. अब क्या करोगे आप? And that's why you must have ability to develop a common connections within the syllabus. If you are able to do these common connections, if you are able to do or you have that capability or capacity to develop interdisciplinary approach, then you pull content from the other papers, other side, whether it is current affairs or XYZ. अदरवाइज वो कीवर्ड के आसपास घूमते रहते हो, थोड़ी देर के बाद लगता है यार पता नहीं क्या हो रहा है, यू योरसेल्फ नॉट सेटिस्फाइड, ये बात हो रही. सो दिस फाइन, एंड देयर आर सेवरल एग्जांपल्स. सत्यम इज एग्जांपल, फाइन. Infosys whistleblowing example of 2019. You can say Tata Consultancies operational excellence is example of you can say professional efficiency. So there are several examples of it. मॉरल इंटीग्रिटी नहीं होगी तो बहुत सारे एग्जाम्पल्स हैं, सब प्राइम क्राइसिस से लेके और किंगफिशर से लेके और दुनिया भर के एग्जाम्पल से सत्यम तक के एग्जाम्पल है, सब कोलैप्स हो जाएगी. बट देन you will fit the example only in the big picture. If you are able to see this why, then it's very easy to you can say locate the relevant example and place it. आप बहुत easily उसको locate करके place कर देते हो. अगर नहीं होगा तो वो random होगा, अचानक से दिमाग में आया कहीं से कहीं रख दिया उसको. Again, I am saying you that while doing preparation, you have to just remind yourself one and only one thing, that what makes you competent so that you take edge over the others. It's taking edge. आपको आता होगा, कितना आता है इससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. आप कितने देर लाइब्रेरी में बैठते हैं, कितनी किताबें पढ़ी होंगे, उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता सर. आपकी एबिलिटी टू सस्टेन द क्वालिटी आंसर कितनी है, हाउ मच योर आंसर्स आर रेलिवेंट, आपके थॉट प्रोसेस में क्लैरिटी कितनी है, आपका रिकॉल कितना फास्ट है. These are certain set of skills, attributes that will help you to crack this examination with a good rank. और टॉपर्स की जब आप बात करते हो कॉपीज की XYZ की, उसका कोई मतलब नहीं है. अगेन आई एम सेइंग यू ऑन पब्लिक रिकॉर्ड, ऑन पब्लिक प्लेटफॉर्म आई एम सेइंग, हार्डली आई हैव मेट 1 or 2% और स्टूडेंट्स जिससे बात करके लगाओ कि इसके पास बहुत एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी कंटेंट है. अदरवाइज आई नेवर एवर मेट एनी कैंडिडेट those who have already into the service and qualified जिसका कंटेंट बहुत एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी है. Not at all. They are well organized. They are able to sustain their answers or quality of the answer. That's it, nothing else. इसके beyond कुछ भी नहीं है. Nothing means nothing. Nothing. कोई CGPA और कोई XYZ और कोई academic excellence, nothing साहब, nothing. That's marketing tool. That's it, nothing else. उसका कोई मतलब नहीं, कोई सेंस नहीं. Fine. So let's come to the applied questions or applied ethics. Fine. Let's go to another question. Let's see another question. International aid. Applied question. So look at this question. International aid is an accepted form of helping resource challenged nations. Comment on the ethics in contemporary international aid. Support your answer with the suitable example. When it comes to ethics in the international aid, there are certain concerns. There are certain concerns. Why there are certain concerns? Because if you look at the international aid, right from international institutions, whether it is World Bank, IMF, etc., to the different countries, whenever they give any aid, there is a market interest behind it largely. For example, if you look at the way international organizations assist different countries, they prescribe changes in their policy framework. World Bank, IMF, etc. वो पकड़ा देती है प्रिस्क्रिप्शन, सब ये चेंजेस करो तो इतने पैसे मिलेंगे, इतने पैसे मिलेंगे. So there are two aspects in it. First, you talk about the international aid, but then when it comes to the ethics, you need to see it critically. Critically means you have to evaluate certain fact, figures, etc. And what is the ground reality? Ground reality. This is why it is applied ethics. You have to you can say, evaluate the ground realities on the basis of the ground realities. So this is how this year's paper were framed, more and more applied in nature. And that's why again and again I am saying that if you are not prepared to that extent, you will find this year that very erratic mark. किसी को वो 130, 140 भी आ रहा है, किसी को 70 भी आ रहा है सर. अगर एक पेपर में ही 70 मार्क्स का या 50 मार्क्स का डिफरेंस है और ऐसे में भी इस तरह का हो गया, तो अटेम्प्ट तो गया ना साहब. फिर तो आप ऑप्शन में 300 भी ले आओ तो भी कंपनसेट नहीं होगा, क्योंकि गैप ही इतना बड़ा हो गया. ना. इस तरह के वेरिएशंस आप पेपर 2, पेपर 3 में कम देखते हो, लेस. लेकिन यहां पे है, ऑप्शन में है. And the you can say the last question which I'm going to take is basically solution seeking. This is another type of questions where you can say UPSC tries to expect or try to test you in one area, that how do you see the problem, how do you seek solutions, and while suggesting any solution, whether you are pragmatic, practical, you understand the constraint, limitation, impediments, etc. or not, or you are simply trying to create another moral plateau. Read this question. It will help you to understand what I am trying to say. So this question again very simple, very, very simple. I framed this question in my mains classes also and test series also. This year, this paper is you can say very close to the way we dealt in the main examination. जैसा हम लोगों ने मेन एग्जामिनेशन इस बार कवर किया, इस बार का पेपर काफ़ी हद तक बहुत क्लोज है. और अब तो सारे क्वेश्चन पेपर हम लोग के मार्केट डोमेन में ही हैं, सोशल मीडिया पे ही हैं. इसलिए क्योंकि जब आप एक थॉट प्रोसेस के साथ अटेम्प्ट करते हो कि क्वेश्चन क्यों बनाना है, क्या टेस्ट करना है, क्या स्टूडेंट में टेस्ट करना है, तो आप रैंडम नहीं हो सकते हैं, आप बहुत ऑर्गेनाइज्ड होते हैं. उसके पीछे एक लॉजिक काम करती है. रीड दिस क्वेश्चन. So the question is, corruption is the manifestation of the failure of the core values in the society. In your opinion, what measures can be adopted to uplift the core values in the society? Very interesting. Fine. Why I say very interesting here in this? Fine. Because when I frame this question in the class also, in the test series also, mostly students started talking about the corruption, the reason of the corruption, legal framework, XYZ. Sahab, read the question carefully. Here, it is the context. Its a reason is very well written here. Why to rewrite it? ये तो लिखा हुआ है ना, तो इसको दोबारा लिखो कि करप्शन के रीजन क्या है, नहीं है. आप अपना टाइम और वर्ड वेस्ट कर रहे हो. You are not required to write these things. Not at all. Fine. So here what is important and what is required is basically to focus on the second part here. What measures? In the sense, it wants solution from you, and that's why I am using this word, solution seeking. A solution seeking. So here you have to write in and around the core values. To uplift. Core values को uplift करना कैसे होगा साहब? सबसे बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है रोल मॉडल. हमारा रोल मॉडल कौन है, ये बहुत मैटर करता है सोसाइटी में. बिकॉज वैल्यू परमिएट्स द सोशल ऑर्डर. आई रिपीट माई सेंटेंस, वैल्यूज परमिएट्स सोशल ऑर्डर. तो रोल मॉडल, एथिकल लीडरशिप, these are the things. That is the first requirement. Second requirement, to you can say uplift the core values in the society, is legal framework. But what is mean by legal framework here? Here legal framework simply means respect for the law. Respect for the law. So any society where you see that the corruption is at the minimum level, it rarely happens that there is a place on this planet which is corruption free. So society, institutions, etc., they value certain practice so much that they keep it at the minimum as possible. Minimum as possible. Fine. So here legal framework means this, and also that when any society, when rewards the good behavior and punish the bad behavior, then people start following the straight path. You have to reward good behavior, good practices. You have to punish the bad behavior and bad practices. So what practice social institutions do, promote, etc. Fine. And then obviously education, awareness, etc. are important. But here you can say here very important is here that you should keep your answer in and around this. Uplift the core values. The context will remain corruption. But this question is not about corruption. This question is all about uplifting the core value of the society. You can take example of corruption, etc. अगर ये अंडरस्टैंडिंग, ये अप्रोच नहीं रहती है तो अपने पीयर ग्रुप में बात करो. ज्यादातर स्टूडेंट करप्शन लिख के आएगा, क्या क्वेश्चन है लिख दिया, फोड़ दिया आने दो मार्क्स. तुमने यूपीएससी को फोड़ दिया, यूपीएससी तुमको फोड़ेगी तो मार्क्स आने के बाद पता चलेगा. व्हाई आई एम सेइंग दिस? क्योंकि क्वेश्चन देखते ही तुम लोग सिर्फ कीवर्ड पकड़ते हो और स्टार्ट हो जाते हो. तुम्हें लगता है कि हो गया, काम हो गया, यार अपना काम हो गया. नहीं हुआ, ऐसे नहीं. This is what I want to discuss, deliberate and expose, that don't read, don't prepare in a very mundane, without thinking. Elevate yourself. Critical thinking is important. Bring clarity. If there is no clarity, there is no marks. It's as simple as anything. This is what I wanted to discuss. So in this section, or in this session, it's all about section A. Case study will take, you can say, a little bit longer time. So we'll do it in the different session, the next session. केस स्टडी को फिर केस स्टडी की तरह डिटेल में डिस्कस करेंगे. फाइन. और कोई भी डाउट हो तो डिस्कस करते हैं. वी आर डूइंग, यू कैन से, लॉट ऑफ मेंटरशिप, एंड जीएसएस स्कोर इज नोन फॉर दैट. तो मिलते हैं, डिस्कस करेंगे. थैंक यू वेरी मच. थैंक यू.